Hey, it's Teapot. So we've done a little work down here in our room. We've set up some barrels and put up the different types of things that we found. So I mentioned last time that I would take those clay balls and bake them, and so I did that and made some clay bricks in here. And I didn't mention last time, but we do have mud bricks because we do have access to mud. And all we need to do is take the mud that we had and add some of the wheat to make packed mud, and then once we've got the packed mud, we can make packed mud bricks and we can make all the different types of blocks from there. I took the andesite, diorite, and granite and made the polished variants up there. So we've got those. And then the sandstone and the red sandstone, I made all of the other sandstone variants. So we don't have deep slate or deep slate tiles. That's something we'll have to look into once we start digging in our mine a little bit deeper. Same thing with tuff and polished tuff. We don't have that yet. One of the things that I mentioned, or that I failed to mention actually, is that we didn't have access to netherrack because we don't have access to the nether because we can't make a nether portal. We don't even have a bucket to make the speedrun nether portal. But at those abandoned or those ruined nether portals, there is netherrack all over the place. And similar to the clay, all we have to do is bake it. And then we end up with nether bricks, which we can make into the nether brick blocks, which we've done all of those, including the chiseled one. Then we've got, technically, resin bricks are accessible to us. We could make resin bricks. The only dilemma is that we would have to go back to that pale oak forest. We'd have to find a heart. We'd have to wait for creakings to arrive. We'd have to survive creakings using our leather armor and our stone weapons. And then we'd have to try and harvest that, all while avoiding the other mobs that show up in the pale oak, because hostile mobs will spawn there, passive mobs won't. So that may be another time that we'll have to plan something out. But we did, of course, put our dripstone down here. Now, on the other side, you'll notice that we've got dirt, the mud we got, the gravel, the sand, the red sand, the clay, and the netherrack that I mentioned that we did harvest from the ruined nether portals, along with some of those nether bricks I have. And you'll also notice that I've got a little chest down here because, I have a lot of dirt. I have a lot of dirt. And of course, the trick here to make this look like a solid wall is to use those stone stairs that I talked about in the last episode. So this monument area is starting to look pretty good. I think what we'll probably do today is we'll probably work on these four types of blocks, those deep slate blocks and the tough blocks. Um, but other than that, I think it's time for us to get into our hole and start exploring. Looks like we've opened up to a cave, so let's go ahead and drop a torch there if we can. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bar here so that we can explore this way. More iron, a little bit more iron. All right, and this actually brings us to deep sleep for the first time. What I want to do is I want to try and light this up a little bit so I'm safe, but I also notice a couple of other ores here. So I'm going to go ahead and block one side off. I'll block this side off as well. we'll keep exploring down. Right. And there are our first diamonds of this series. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get those for a while. But at least we can kind of explore this tunnel and figure out what it leads to. Interesting how the water just kind of stops there. I've never seen the water actually stopped by moss before. That's interesting. And this takes us back up to stone level. All right. There's more iron. The double torch thing again. But basically, I just want to light this up because otherwise I'm going to have mobs tracking on me as I harvest those things, and I really don't want that. All right. So I'm going to go back down to where we were, and we're going to go ahead and make sure there aren't any other dark spots hiding around here. And we will start harvesting some of the steep slate. All right, so this one here, it's kind of isolated. I think this is probably going to end up being our first piece. And we've got it. Excellent. Now we're going to continue down. It looks like this is a really nice natural stepping stone. We do have, that's not what I wanted. I would like to get that back, and I also would like not to, goodness. So that's just going to be a dangerous area, but what we'll do is we'll continue to explore down this way. It looks like we've got a natural stepping stone down here, so I'll go ahead and harvest some of this. And of course, this mines just slower no matter what tool you're using, but with a stone axe, it's almost painfully slow. We're just going to have to make do with this. But we're going to be collecting a bit of this, then we'll take it back, but also we're going to be on the lookout for some tuff. Tuff is naturally produced down here. It's not just around the amethyst like it used to be. And so what we can do is just look for some natural occurrences of this. And we'll see what we can find. We have found our first tuff down here, so let's go ahead and light up this so we're not trapped by the creatures of the dark. There's some more tuff over here. There's quite a bit of tuff down here. And we have a zombie villager. All right, let's hope no other zombie villager spawned. Let's eat a bit. And then we'll continue to light up. Now that we've mined a bit of this, I want to talk a little bit about what we're actually going to be doing here. So if I type in deep slate, you can see that right now we can only make 4 different types of blocks: the cobbled deep slate slab, the stairs, the wall, and then something called polished deep slate. So I'm going to go ahead and create some of this polished deep slate. And what you'll see is that when I add the polished deep slate, it does add some more things in here. We get the deep slate bricks, the deep slate stairs, uh, all the polished options here. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can create some of the these bricks. And what you'll see is that those add some options up here. But there's something else that's not up here, and I want to kind of talk a little bit about what that is. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to create a furnace. And I only want to create one furnace. Sorry about that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some of this deep slate, uh, just 24 of them, and cook that. But while I'm doing that, I also want to talk about what's going to happen with the tuff. So right now with the tuff, we have the option for the different tuff slabs, stairs, and walls, but then we also have something called polished tuff. So when I look at polished tuff, that brings in some other stuff, which brings us the tuff bricks, as well as the polished options. And if I do the polished tuff, or the tuff bricks, then of course we've got the option for the bricks. And so I guess my question is, if we do the same thing with tuff, if we put that in our furnace, are we going to get other options? Because there's a lot of different variants of tuff. There's a lot of different variants of deep slate, and we need to make sure we have all of those blocks. So that's kind of the objective to what we're looking for. So I'm going to continue to mine a little bit more, and then we'll go back up to our stone collection room, and we'll see how that works. Gee, no, go, no, 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 no. I'm not feeling good about this. Shouldn't have come out at night. Luckily, I've got a bed over here. Hopefully, I can make a quick sleep and take care of things in the morning. Because goodness, that was startling. All right, so things are burning. I did have that one creeper still hanging out though, so I've got to wander around and make sure everything just kind of disappears. Okay, so it looks like quite a bit of the stuff is now dead. Let's see if that creeper is gone. I really don't feel like fighting a creeper right now. Come on, enter sprint mode. Enter sprint mode. Come on. There we go. There's a villager hanging out on my house. Priest. Wonder if he's trying to get my attention. All right, so we got the deep slate. Let's go ahead and put that up here. And then we also had the deep slate tiles. Oh, we had deep slate tiles. I may have dropped them, but we also have tuff. So we can put that up here. All right. So let's go ahead and go to our stone thing here. We have our tuff, which we can make into all these different things. We can make the polished, the chiseled, the bricks. We have all these different types that we can make. Similarly, with the cobbled deep slate, we have all of these different types of blocks we can make. The walls, the stairs, the slabs, the tiles. What's nice about this is that we can kind of go directly to any of these without having to go through all the intermediate steps. So I'm going to kind of do that off camera since we have those tools at our disposal. It's just a matter of clicking and it's not very exciting to watch. Also, here's a helpful hint. when you're dealing with cobbled deep slate, if you put cobbled deep slate in a stone cutter, you do have all of these options. But if you just put regular deep slate in here, you can't make anything out of it. So you really don't want to silk touch or make too much of the pure deep slate. You really want the cobbled deep slate in order to have more options. This actually allows you to have the chiseled or the cobbled or the bricks or the tiles. So in general, you want to have the cobbled because it's really going to give you more options here. So you can see I've made cobbled stairs, slabs, and walls, and then up here I have tiles there, but it really should just be bricks. So I've got the polished variants, I've got the brick variants, I've got the tile variants, and then I've got this chiseled deep slate as well. Same thing for the polished tuff over here. I've got all the polished variants, I've got the brick variants, and then I've got these two different chiseled variants. So we can actually clear these off our missing list. So the only thing that we really have missing is calcite, which we will have to find a geode for, and resin bricks. So the last thing that I want to do today is I actually want to talk about what a spectrum of these bricks would look like, because oftentimes when you're building, you'll want to have kind of a transition from one style of bricks to another style of bricks, either for color variants or for structure variants. And it's helpful to have these different things pictured so that you kind of get an idea of what everything should look like. So I'm gonna start making something like that, and I'll come back when I've got that taken care of. I was doing a little strip mining here and found this little block here. So we've got some smooth basalt, which means that we have a amethyst nearby. Let's go ahead and clear this out. And there you can see some of that calcite that we were talking about. Now, I am going to consider both the calcite and the smooth fair game, but I'm going to leave the amethyst. The amethyst is going to be part of our next stage where we're getting all of our metals and other precious things. So redstone, lapis, and others. Also, it is dark in there, so I probably should light it up. What I'm going to do is retrieve some of this stuff, and we will take it back to our room. Right, so we're back at our base, and I don't have a spot for smooth basalt, so I'm going to go ahead and clear one out real quick. I'll put a barrel in here. I'll go ahead and put a sign, which I need to create. Not an oak sign, I need a bamboo sign. And we'll go ahead and put smooth basalt. Actually, we'll probably just have this be just a general basalt, because we will get some later when we venture into the nether. Let's go ahead and put that basalt up. And then we can put the rest away. And then we also got a little bit of calcite here. We'll put some of that on display, that beautiful white. Put the rest away. We didn't get very much of it. Pickaxe broke, and so I'm kind of stuck in between. Let's see if we can get these cobble there. So the only thing that we're really missing from this wall, we had an Enderman come and visit us. The only thing we're missing from this wall are the resin bricks, which we'll have to set up a resin farm, and we'll take a look at that in the next episode. So once again, thank you for watching. Y'all have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.